Hello, welcome back to Elevate. This is season 2, and I'm so happy to be back and sharing stories of fascinating guests in this upcoming season. My today's guest is someone who is doing some amazing work with one of the most fundamental parts of our life that we've somehow, lost to be connected with, which is happiness. And he's the founder of Happionaire. We're going to find out exactly more about what he is basically doing with Happionaire. He is a best-selling author, a speaker, and Yogesh, welcome to Elevate. And I'm so happy to invite you, and you're part of this show. Before we dive into anything which is about your work or what kind of transformation you're bringing, I am interested to know, how was life in Tehran?
Okay. Thank you very much, Rohan, for the introduction. Well, I went there when I was 5 years old to Tehran, and I have fond memories. It's a beautiful place, a beautiful country, beautiful people. I have memories of, it was after the Iran-Iraq war, so my dad was there, during the war also. And I remember I had gone from Bombay, and in those days I remember women used to drive in Tehran, and I have this vision in my head of a woman with red lipstick, wearing a scarf, glares, and she had a cigarette in her hand and she was driving, and they had these American cars. They had like Cadillacs and Buicks. And I remember we had gone to a supermarket and there was glass, like you have glass in the supermarket, and there was red tape on the glass. So I asked my dad, why is there red tape? And he tells me, because till 3 months ago bombs would fall, and when a bomb falls, even if it falls 2 kilometers away, there's sound. And with the vibration, the glass shatters. So the tape holds the glass together. So beautiful country, beautiful people. I had a great time in Tehran.
At that time, Iran, of course. First of all, were there too many Indians in Iran?
No, not many Indians, but you belong to a Sindhi family. Iran, Indians have been going to Iran for maybe 500,000 years. So even 500 years ago, traders from Sindh used to go to Iran to trade dry fruits, foods. But when I was there, not so many Indians. Maybe 400-500.
Okay. Yeah. So how was life there? I mean, for an Indian, especially a boy in a post-war scenario where you just explained that probably bombing or that kind of danger was omnipresent day in and day out. So what was it for a 5-year-old boy like you? How did you kind of, get to terms or get comfortable with that particular country?
See, when I went there, it was very safe because the war had ended.
Okay.
But when my dad was there, he said he could see the planes. So they would have dog fights in the sky with Iran-Iraq war going on. When I went there, it was very safe. And the people were very nice, very hospitable, very kind. I remember even as a kid, when we would sit in the taxi, they would, sing songs from Sangam movie, Dost Na Raha or Sholay. So they have a lot of affinity towards Indians. So it was very interesting because, one is what you see. So, the media portrays it in a certain way. But as a city, as a country, as a people, they are very warm, very friendly. And we had access to everything. Beautiful parks, beautiful art, beautiful culture.
So tell us a little bit about your schooling. Were you, was there like an English school?
There was an English school, yes. There were 2 schools, in fact, there that were in English. One of them was an international school and one was an Indian school. I went to both. So first I went to an international school. So we had people from many different countries. And then I went to an Indian school, which was attached to the Gurdwara. So I went to both the schools. And
How long were you there?
I was there from the age of 5 till 16 in school.
16.
But then I used to visit during vacations.
Okay. Awesome. Awesome. And after 16, where did life take you?
After 16, I came to Bombay.
Okay.
And when I came to Bombay, it was challenging because my family was not here, my friends were not here. And in the beginning, I found it very tough.
Okay.
But then a moment came when I decided that I'm going to make the most of life and time. So I was in Bombay.
As a 16-year-old, did you live here alone or?
For some time, I lived with my grandmom.
Okay.
And then I lived alone.
Okay. And you must have definitely faced some challenges because, again, for someone like you who's left Iran,
Yeah.
who's been in Iran, first of all, acclimatizing to a foreign country and then coming back and living alone here, you've faced a very challenging upbringing, if I could say that, How did you manage it on your own and where did life take you? Just tell us a little bit about your journey leading up to now.
See, Rohan, when I was born in Bombay, that time, now it's Mumbai, but that time it was Bombay. So I was here till 5. In fact, I went to the same school you went to when I was in Bombay, St. Teresa, we were having a conversation. So when I went to Tehran, again, it's new. So of course, you meet new people. But I remember when I came to Bombay, it was challenging because I would like to go to the park in the evening. And everybody had their own, existing friend circle from school. Beginning it was challenging, but I think sometimes the challenge is good because out of that something beautiful comes out. So I started working, I started learning French. So I think in that way it was nice.
Is there something, I'm sorry I'm taking you back to Tehran, but is there something that kind of stayed with you? Is there like a person or an experience that has shaped you from your early childhood, from some experience in Tehran or it could be from someone you met?
I think there's an experience. I was 6 years old. I was, coming out of the school bus and my sister was just born there. And when I'm coming out of the school bus, it's raining. And, there's like a open drain. And because it is raining, I don't see the open drain and I fall into the drain. And it's just water, water, and I'm sinking and water is going in my mouth, in my nose. And time somehow freezes, and my life flashes in front of me. And I just pray. I pray to the divine that, I want to live, I don't want to go. And as I pray, I feel a hand coming in, lifting me up, carrying me in his arms, and I'm coughing out water. He asks me in Persian, where do you stay? So I point, I stay here on the 6th floor. So he carries me in his arms, hands me over to my mother, and he just saves my life. He doesn't care about money, fame. He doesn't care what my skin color is, what my religion is, what my nationality is. He just saves, the life of a small boy. So I think, I feel, our life has meaning. And I also feel there is goodness. I felt, this man saves a child's life. So that stayed with me.
You must have been scared.
In that moment, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
And you're scared. Yeah, of course, I'm scared.
Yeah. Do you know that man?
No, that's what I'm saying. I don't know his name. He was probably going to work. And he didn't want anything. Right. So I think the divine works in interesting ways.
Okay. In your early years, as every kid would have a goal or some kind of pathway that I want to be this by this age or I want to be that by that age. So once you came back to India, tell us a little bit about your journey. What did you start? What were your initial years? What were you pursuing?
Yeah, so I was studying commerce, and ever since I was a small boy in school, I always liked to sell I was interested in business, selling, and I was also interested in reading. So I would love to spend time reading, writing. So when I came to Bombay, it was very interesting because I feel the city gives you a lot of opportunities if you're open. So I tried many things. I started writing. I used to write for a youth magazine called Jam. Just another magazine started
yes.
by Rashmi Bansal.
Yes.
And Times Group had another magazine, again a youth magazine called JLT.
Okay.
Just like that.
Okay.
So I would write for both of them. And both were competitors. I would work with the events industry. There's something called promoters.
Yes.
Where you just stand with the product, with the car. So I would do that. I would do door-to-door selling in those days. It was still there. Today it doesn't work. So I experimented with a lot of different things. I got a job in a law firm to sell legal software. And I quit that job in 5 days. I didn't like it. So I think at that age, the city gave me a lot to experiment. And I'm happy I tried out so many things. And I learned French. I got a chance to learn French. Yeah,
So, me and my team have been doing a little bit of research, and we've come across this really interesting term that you coined, which is called Happionaire.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about how that came about.
So, I started meditating when I was 14. I'd come for vacation. My grandmother enrolled me. I did. So I was, just sitting, maybe 21 years old, 22 years old. And I was just meditating. And I got this term, Happionaire. And it connected with me because I feel sometimes, people think our chase is for money or fame or power. But actually, deeper it is a desire to feel loved, to feel happy, to feel joyous. So this word stayed with me. So I went and registered a domain name called happionaire.com and on a website called GoDaddy. I think for $9 or $10 in those days. And I started a blog. So I started writing, linking happiness with work, with business, with life. And that is how it started. It started with a blog.
Okay. And so your bio says that you are someone who helps people become happier. Okay. And I think Happionaire comes from that fundamental path. Tell us, to the people who don't know, what is the kind of work that you do through Happionaire?
So, one of them, of course, we have books, we have programs, online programs. With LinkedIn Learning, we have 2 programs. One is goal setting for happiness and success. The other is time management for fun and productivity. So there are books, there's a book series, there are online programs. We also have programs on an app called Insight Timer.
Okay.
On meditation, on letting go. So letting go of anger, letting go of your past.
Okay.
And the other is speaking.
Okay.
I do speaking for companies, keynote sessions.
Okay.
And the next is retreats. So I have retreats and one-on-one session.
Okay.
These are some of the things I do.
Okay. Personally, what does it give you when you do this work, when you touch people's, you maybe, bring in a little bit of transformation for companies, for people? Tell us, where does this leave you as a human being? What kind of satisfaction does it give you that you've been doing this for so many years?
I think, Rohan, whatever we give, it comes back more. So I think I feel all of us have our dharma, like all of us have our natural ability, what we do. For example, if somebody is a surgeon, and that is their natural instinct, their dharma, so that gives them joy. They enter a state of flow. So when I share, it makes me enter a state of flow. It gives me a lot of joy. And also, if there's anything else, right, all of that melts away. let us say your body is hurting, you have a fever, you have anything, all of that melts away when you are in that state. So I think in that way I feel blessed that I can do what I do.
Yogesh, why is it that there is a growing percentage of the world's population that is probably disassociating with happiness? What do you feel is the reason that more and more people right now are complaining about depressive disorders, or they're just getting disconnecting from joy? Why do you feel this is increasing?
Now, Rohan, I feel our world, right? More and more people are disconnected from nature. So, say with technology, right? Technology is great. People can access this using technology. But at the same time, if you're constantly plugged in, so if you're constantly scrolling or constantly getting an inflow of information, you do not enter a state of rest, right? You do not enter a state of calm. For example, say just 200 years ago or 100 years ago, you would work, whatever, you would farm, you would hunt, but afterwards you would enter a state of rest. You would sit with your friends, with your family around the fire, sing, dance, share, speak. And that would bring in a certain bond, a certain rapport. See, you and me are speaking in person. This you cannot do on your phone. You are sharing some stories about, your creations, the story which you are sharing about Goa. So that you cannot do when you are constantly scrolling. And so I think that is one of the reasons. And also being disconnected from nature. So if you are always sitting, you are not moving, you are not in nature, I think that affects you.
It is probably that if we take a deeper look in the breakdown, or we take a look at the statistics of where there is rising cases of depressive disorders, is probably from the urban centers more. And I think that's why it makes sense that, because I think one of the negative impacts of development is that somewhere we are getting disconnected by nature. And for you and me, of course, we have lived in Bombay, and one thing that brings us close to nature is water. And this I must tell the viewers who are listening in. So I was actually sharing with Yogesh in one of our casual chats is the fact that whenever I feel a sense of overwhelm or stress or anxiety, I tend to go closer to the sea and closer to the water, because I'm a water baby. So he asked me, like, what date are you born? So I told him 28th October. And he removes his wallet and he shows me his ID and says that I'm also 28th October. So that's like strangely coincidental. But again, coming back to the nature point is where I feel personally very calm when I'm next to the water. And I believe, and you were, I think, one day telling me about this story. Could you also please share it with our listeners about the benefit of hugging a tree? I think you were telling me the story about what powers trees and nature has.
Yes, so there's a lot of research on this, and your audience can try it out. Trees are alive, and trees can sense. So everybody can try this out. Just go to the nearest tree. If you can go bare feet, great, and just hug it and feel love towards that tree. And when you feel love towards the tree will respond with that energy. You can share anything with the tree. And just holding a tree in nature, just if you do it just for 5 minutes, It's so rejuvenating, it's healing, and it calms you down. So without your phone, without anything, because we are made of these elements.
Right. And I think it's probably fair to say that our bodies are 70% made of water.
Yeah, water. Yeah.
Oxygen is a huge part our bodies, and one of the primary suppliers of oxygen are trees.
Correct.
So I think there is a connection, and I'd love to basically practice this more on a day-to-day basis. And one other interesting fact that I found out, you have spent some considerable time with His Holiness the Dalai Lama. Could you share a little bit of that experience with us?
Sure. This was actually, we did a session together in 2019. It was for a group, so we had a retreat. And as a part of this retreat, it was a 7-day retreat. We had one session with His Holiness Dalai Lama. And he has a great sense of humor. So we were cracking jokes, laughing. But I think his message is a beautiful message of universal peace, harmony, love, happiness. And if we can look at everybody as one, I think it makes our own life easier, joyous. Because we are all connected, right? Nobody is isolated. So if we look at everybody and go together, it makes our life lighter.
Right. I'm a believer that is why we speak about human connection, and I'm a big believer in the fact that whenever you are in conversation or connected with another human, there is an exchange of energies.
Yes, correct.
Okay, and it works both ways. If you are probably connected and in touch with someone who is emitting a negative source of energy, you tend to become slightly pulled back, and you tend to basically go inwards, and you become a little negative in your behavior. But the opposite also is true, is that is why I think there is a strong advocacy through the world where people says audit your circle, try to be in touch with and connected with the people who elevate you. And that is one of the reasons that I believe that is the most difficult things to do, because we don't choose our connections. Sometimes it's our work that has us connected with people. Sometimes it's the family, sometimes it's our friends, sometimes it's social gatherings. First of all, what I want to know from you is that particular interaction with His Holiness the Dalai Lama, did it bring do you remember a positive change in you when you spent those moments or that time with him?
You are right, Rohan. The surrounding, the people you surround yourself do change how you feel. And with His Holiness Dalai Lama, of course, you feel a sense of calm with everybody, right, who's there. And if you're open to receive, with anybody, if you're open to receive, it's like the sun. If you go in the sun, you will receive the sunlight. But if you lock yourself in the room, you will not receive the sunlight. Or if you go to the ocean, you will receive the energy of the ocean breeze, the sound of the ocean. That is why it has healing energy. So definitely I felt a sense of calm, I felt a sense of peace and joy. But not just there. So many times you will go to a place, a space, and or you listen to certain music, like you listen to a bhajan or Sufi music, or you go to a church where they are playing a hymn, or you go to the Gurdwara. So all of those, if you're open, you will receive a sense of calm, a sense of, even music affects you. So certain types of music will make you feel joyous, will make you feel calm. Certain type of music will make you feel angry, And speaking of plants, they did research with plants. So certain music like sitar, classical music will make the plants grow better as compared to music that is really violent or angry.
That's something that I'm hearing for the first time, where music actually affects. I think I've probably, was it you telling me, or was this me somewhere reading that plants tend to react to the energy in the house, to the people's state of being? Is that true?
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. They have done a lot of research. Plants can sense. So if you approach a plant with love, right? You see, with some people, plants grow so beautifully.
Yeah.
Because they are in a state of love. With some people, they don't, because they might be holding on to anger.
Yeah. So if you go to see, I think it's probably, it's a reflection of what actually any negative energy does to a body. Is what the plant is actually reflecting to you. So it just basically re-emphasizes the fact and the work and the philosophy behind your work about being a millionaire and being happy in that particular thing. You've done a lot of speaking as well. What are the best experiences that you'd like to share with me and your audience about your speaking? Could you give us a little bit of an insight into what is your philosophy behind your speaking?
I'll tell you, Rohan. In fact, we met thanks to Gautam Ganglani of Right Selection. They run a speakers bureau. He introduced us. We called a meetup where we met. But I think in life, sometimes being open. You told me a lot of your audience is young people in their 20s, 30s. So I started speaking again. I had shifted schools. I was in 8th grade and I was learning French. I was amongst a few people who were learning French. So the principal calls me and he says, Yogesh, can you speak on stage? Maybe read a poem. I said, okay. And I'd never been on stage before that. So I write down a poem called Le Pelican, the Pelican. And I'm very nervous, to be honest. And I go on stage and my palms are sweating, my legs are actually shaking, my heart is beating fast. Never been on stage and so many people in the audience. But after some time, 30 seconds, I come in. After 1 minute, I'm okay. And I think it was 2-3 minutes. And after 3 minutes, it's a transformative experience. I come off stage, some people make fun of me, some people say good. But after that, I became comfortable going on stage. So I took part in elocutions, debates. And so many, because of speaking, I got invited to the IITs, for example, or for the Indian Army or the Indian Navy. So those were very interesting experiences, going for the armed forces. I did something in front of the pyramids in the night. So again, that was a beautiful experience, with the pyramids. So some of these things, I think, I could never have imagined. But I think you should be open. So if somebody tells you do it, sometimes your fear holds you back. But just trying it out, putting yourself in the situation, even in the beginning, if you feel nervous, if you feel hesitant, as you do it, it becomes better.
Yogesh, did it ever get challenging? You're someone who's advocating happiness, but as a human, did it ever get challenging for you, where you feel that the work that you're actually teaching to the world, sometimes you need a bit of it as well?
Absolutely. We all face challenges, and so many times, whether it's work or for you face challenges. I face so many challenges. When you start something new, I remember when I started something new, not everybody is receptive. You meet them, they don't meet you. So I think challenges come, but I think a large part of life is having a few tools where you can recharge, where you can, just reset yourself. So for me, it is nature. meditation, spending some time in silence with myself, that recharge me. But I think challenges are a part of life.
I've read your mantra. I think it is no matter how high you have reached, there is always a next level. I think it's beautiful, and I think that's so true. But Yogesh, for someone who's just starting out, for someone who's not even reached his first level yet, how should he look at life? What is your advice to someone who's just starting out?
Rohan, all of us start out somewhere, right? When you started out, you didn't have this podcast. Everybody starts somewhere. When I started out, I think the first thing to do is wherever you are, with whatever you have, see what's the best you can make out of it. So wherever you are, you could be in a small village, but if you have access to the internet, if you have access to tools to learn, so first thing is start out wherever you are. Do not wait that, only when I have this setup, I will do. Only when I have the best systems, I will do. Whatever you have, wherever you have, you start out. And the next is have some clarity of direction. It might not be accurate, it might not be exact, but have some direction. Okay, I want to become a chef, for example. I want to become an architect. I want to become a painter. I want to become an engineer. And in that direction, invest some time, some resources to learn from people who have excelled in that field, because you will get ideas, you will get inspiration in any field, right? So if you start spending your time in learning and growing, so it could be through books, it could be through podcast, it could be through something, and with whatever you have, start out, because I think the best learning comes when you start doing things. I told you I used to sell toys, for example, as a kid. Now, when you sell toys as a kid, you learn so much. You understand rejection, right? Anybody who is sold understands not everybody will say yes. So if you can understand rejection, it becomes a great gift, because then if you approach 100 people, maybe 10 people will say yes. But if you don't understand rejection, the moment you face 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rejections, you will quit. So the first thing is wherever you are, start out and start doing, because when you do, you will learn. And also, nothing you do goes waste. So I told you I have a program with LinkedIn Learning on time management. But long back, this program was shot in a studio with like a setup like this. But I remember the content of this program, I had created it in a small space on a mobile phone, just recording it. And I had to record it keeping the noise outside in mind, because there was somebody doing carpentry work. And that program was called Time Expansion, but the ideas were there. So when LinkedIn Learning through a production house approached me, could do it faster. So I think as you do, right, you keep doing, and each step, it is a virtuous cycle. So whatever it is, you start out doing. So if you are here, whoever is listening, you are from Rohan's fans, Rohan's audience, whatever it is, start out. Don't be too much in your head.
Yeah. I think what you say is so true, because I think early on in my life, I don't think I ever realized that whatever I was doing was eventually one day going to pay off. I think, like I was speaking to you about the story that I developed, never did I think 20 years back that this could probably go on to, become a show that I would probably write, and what Yogesh is telling us is that eventually time management is not just about managing your time or focusing on what your current goals are, but it's also realizing that sometimes what may not seem pertinent or ideal at this particular time, it's not necessary that probably in the future it won't be helpful. And that's what Yogesh has probably told us in the example that he's given. That's amazing piece of insight, Yogesh, and I can't agree more. I also would like to add that finding joy in the process in whatever we do is as important as the end goal. What do you think?
You're right, Rohan, and I'll share something. Anything you do, right? Anything, even if you're sweeping the floor, if you're making tea, if you're completely immersed, if you're grateful, you can find joy. And also showing up. A lot of times people don't realize the value of showing up. I think many times in life, it's just showing up. I'll share something. So yesterday, I was in Delhi. I came back yesterday and it's very hot in Delhi. The real feel was 51 degrees and I fell ill. I had a slight fever. So yesterday my wife tells me, why don't you reschedule today's podcast? I said, no, he would have booked the studio. I will not reschedule. I will go. So I had a fever, but I said, let me go, And I came here and we did this podcast. So many times it has happened in me. I remember my son was born. Next day I had an event. So I had not slept the whole night. But I showed up for the event. Okay, maybe my energy level wasn't 100%, but I think just showing up. Many times in life, just showing up changes a lot of things, because also you need to think, right? The other person would have invested time, a team. So I think just in life, showing up, even if you are not feeling 100%, if you show up, it also sends a message to your body, to you, that, okay, you can do it.
Yeah.
So I think if you are somebody who is just starting out, just show up. If somebody tells you, why don't you come? Show up. Even if you're not 100% there, go.
Yeah.
Because when you go, you're not holding yourself back.
Yeah. And Yogesh, thank you for sharing this, because that's what actually, that's one of the reasons that why I'm inspired by your story and why by the work that you're doing, is that what you just said reinforces the fact that, because even I tend to believe that we are just a small cog in a larger scheme of things.
Yeah.
Okay. By you being a part of an event, it's not just about you. There is a larger scheme of things. There are people. Okay. I'd like to just basically share this small experience with you about last year. I think it was one of my first public gatherings.
Yeah.
When I was supposed to do a small team session. I was supposed to run a team session with about 100 students. And before entering the door, I got extremely nervous and I thought about turning back and calling in sick.
Yeah.
And I went into the washroom just to, basically gather my nerves or, basically just calm down a little, is when I saw a 19-year-old boy. It's from some village coming in, probably more nervous than me. And today when I realize and I look back and I kind of, basically want to understand, okay, fine, that maybe he was nervous, that, he probably felt that he would be a misfit in that room. Yeah. He was wearing clothes that were not too flashy or something, but eventually he washed his face, he put on a smile, he put his bag and he walked into that room. And I just looked at him go and I'm like, if this guy can do it, why can't I? And then I walked in, and from then on my life changed. And since that day and today, I journal about this daily, and I believe that we are a very small cog in a larger scheme of things. That brings me to one of the most important segments and questions of this show. What would you, for a 26-year-old right now who's at the crossroads of his career, is at the crossroads of his life, in probably one of the most exciting times where technology is at its best, but also where the world is seeing and facing a different challenge. What would your advice be for someone who's been advocating happiness to 20 million people? What would your primary advice be to a 25, 26-year-old who's right now starting life?
If you're just starting out life, you're 25 years old, 26 years old, the first thing is, develop your human skills. Because as technology is coming, I see people's human skills going down. If you are speaking with somebody, have the ability to have a conversation. Keep your phone aside. So if you are with somebody, give them your full attention, listen to them. So a large part of life is if you can listen to someone. If you are with somebody and looking at your screen, you're not there. I think human skills will have a lot more value. So the first thing is develop those human skills, the ability to listen, the ability to be compassionate, and the ability to be of help. I think if you can solve any problem and be of help, right, in any way. So whatever your skill is, whatever you're learning, if you can help somebody, because as you start helping somebody, automatically you will generate wealth, because if you can solve a problem for somebody, you will generate wealth, and you will also feel joyous and be ethical about it. Sometimes people who are not ethical, right? Maybe for a short time you make a lot of money, but life isn't only about making a lot of money. I know people, suddenly they have made a lot of money. Maybe they have done something, suddenly they have made 200, 300 crores. But what do you do with that money? What if your kids get addicted to drugs? What if you get addicted to drugs? So there are many parts of it. So I think if you're ethical, if you're honest, if you are, really, when you do that thing, it's not because I will get money, because I will get famous, but you're doing it with complete love, honesty, dedication. You will also get opportunities, because if you can do something with love, with dedication, that will spill over in other areas of your life, right? I was telling you, I used to work as somebody, who used to stand in front of a car as a promoter, right? I used to stand in front of a car, get maybe 1,000 rupees a day, 1,500 rupees a day. And I remember, there was an event happening in BKC. And in those days, BKC was not what it is. Today you have the American Consulate, Sofitel, Trident. In those days, it was, nothing much was there. But there was this empty patch of ground. And a car was being launched called the Ford Endeavour, 4-wheel drive. And all we had to do was stand there. And there was an events company called Showbiz, still there, Showbiz. And all I had to do was stand with the car, and I would get 1,000 or 1,500 rupees a day, 8 in the morning till maybe 10 in the night or 10:30. And I was very happy. And all I had to do is, you would come, Rohan, okay, Mr. Rohan, your name and your license number, and sit beside you so that you can take a test drive. And in that weekend, 2 people asked me, how do we buy this car? It's a good car. And we were told you don't have to sell the car. Somehow, as promoters, you're not supposed to sell the car. It is like in the airport, you go, they are not supposed to sell the car. But I said, okay, give me your number. I found out their number, connected them with the company, and I sold 2 cars. So the people around me asked me, Yogesh, why did you sell those 2 cars? You are not getting a commission, you are not getting a promotion. I said, no, I am like Henry Ford. If Henry Ford was here, he will sell the car. So here I am like Henry Ford, sold the car, Showbiz gave me a letter. But that is something that stayed with that company, right? Now they invite me for events as a speaker, but I'm saying, even the smallest thing you do not miss out. To do it with love, to do it with dedication, to do it with honesty, because that will flow in every area.
Now this is getting eerie, because a week ago you told me that yours and my birth date is same.
Yes.
Okay. Today you tell about this Ford thing.
Yes.
In BKC.
Yeah.
I was exactly part of this particular exhibition in the CCI part of it, where they had launched the Ford Fiesta, and I was one of those daily promoters where me and my friends, 6 people, we were paid 800 rupees a day for a week.
Yeah.
And people would come to test drive the Ford Fiesta. So it was basically an exercise where they had hidden the name of the car.
Right.
Okay. It was the Ford Fiesta launching.
Yeah.
And they had kept 6-7 cars with all the names hidden.
Yeah.
And it was basically a market research for people to come. drive the cars, okay, and then tell which car did they like and what did they like in which car.
Right.
And eventually that led to the launch of Ford Fiesta. And today you're telling me you were part of similar thing. That was also done by Showbiz. Yours was also done by Showbiz.
Yes.
And that's exactly what I was part of. And I think initially when I was looking at trying to make my own money,
Yeah.
and not be dependent on my parents, on my allowances, when I used to do these shows and promotings and everything. So guys, again, this is something that where reinforces my belief that this world is very small.
Yeah.
Eventually we are all tied to 6 degrees of separation or something. So yeah,
You did
And
that with Showbiz.
I did that with Showbiz.
Samir Tobacco Wala.
Yes, and that
So
was
it must be in the same duration, more or less.
it was 2000 2001.
Exactly, same way. Yeah,
Yeah,
2000,
it was around that time
2001.
when I was studying. I was probably in my last year of college, and
Correct.
it was good money. So
Yeah.
we used to have a lot of fun
Yeah.
hanging with people. So
Yeah.
fun reliving these
Yeah.
experiences with you. But I'm just summing up what you just said before we can sign off on the show, is that you pointed out very rightly, is that for anyone who's probably starting out right now, I think what's important is to remember is how we can be of service. Try to solve a problem what the person has, and I think wealth is connected to the level of the degree of the problem you solve, and wealth is just a byproduct. So focus on solving the problem of the person that is there right in front of you, and eventually wealth follows. Yes, ethics, values, honesty are a part of every business. Thank you so much, Yogesh, for being a part of the show. Thank you so much for coming here, even though your health is not at 100%. Like I told you before the show that I was supposed to shoot 2 episodes today, but unfortunately my second guest is also down with a really high fever. But thank you for showing up. Thank you for coming, and thank you for sharing your experiences with my audience. And I look forward to working with you again in the future. And once again, thank you so much.
Thank you. I feel so much better in your presence.
Okay. Thank you guys. Thank you so much. And I'll probably see you next time.